We're good.
Okay. All right. So this is the case that we chose for our final project. It is Diamond versus Ward. Okay. So the case features Ashley Diamond, who is a transgender Black woman, and she is suing the Georgia Department of Corrections for the inadequate treatment of her while she has been incarcerated. Back in 2015, she actually filed the first lawsuit against them for the abusive conditions she faced. She was housed in an all-men's facility. She was refused hormone therapy, and it led to the historical settlement and kind of the first time that trans issues in prison were brought to the federal court. This case accomplished allowing trans people to receive their hormone therapy while in prison, and they also adopted a sexual assault prevention policy. However, in 2019, Ashley was arrested again for parole, and she was put back into the hands of GDC. She was put in a male prison again, and despite her lawsuit, she's still experiencing the same treatment that she had. Can go to the next slide. So her case, essentially, she is suing them again for, again, they are demanding, or she's being sued on, from the Center, so on her behalf, the Center of Constitutional Rights and the Southern Poverty Law are filing that lawsuit for her, and they are demanding the same things that they wanted the first time. They want her to be adequately protected from any kind of sexual assault or harm. They want her to be transferred to a women's facility, and she further demands that they provide her with adequate access to health care. And that means a lot more than hormone therapy. They want her to be able to have proper women's undergarments. They want to have her allow access to hair removal treatment, and they want her to be able to regularly visit any kind of healthcare providers, especially ones that are qualified to treat her gender dysphoria.
All right, so the defendant, the Georgia Department of Corrections, or the GDC, as Ruby said, it's been kind of strange because in the initial lawsuit in 2015 that Diamond initially filed against the GDC was peculiarly quiet about it. In fact, they'd never even issued a comment or an official statement to the public during the initial lawsuit. And so this made our side of the research somewhat difficult in terms of figuring out what their actual stance was, because we really couldn't find anything on that, because the GDC, even again with the second case that was just recently filed, the ongoing one, they, again, much like in 2015, have not issued a comment. So that's somewhat problematic in the sense that it sort of mirrors what already happened.
So for the chapter terms that we chose to do constitutional law, proximate cause, civil suit, intentional infliction of emotional distress, statutory construction, medical negligence, and intimate facts. To go farther into those on constitutional law, it involves the Eighth Amendment, which it says that excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. And then for proximate cause, if a defendant's actions led to the plaintiff's injury, the defendant caused the injury, but unless the defendant's actions was the proximate cause of the harm, the courts will not hold the defendant liable. To determine the proximate cause, courts decide whether there is a direct relationship between the defendant's actions and the plaintiff's injury. As for a civil suit is filed by a private party against another individual or corporation, and the civil harm involved is called a tort. And a tort is a private or civil injury one person or organization inflicts on another. So for intentional infliction of emotional distress, intentional or reckless conduct that is extreme and outrageous and causes severe emotional harm, the defendant's actions must have been outrageous, that is, actions a civilized society considers intolerable and beyond all bounds of decency. As for statutory construction, it is the process of determining what a particular statute means so that a court may apply it accurately. For medical negligence, it is defined as any act or omission by a physician during treatment of a patient that deviates from accepted norms of practice in the medical community and causes an injury to the patient. There are 4 elements that need to be proven in order to have it declared medical negligence, and that is a professional duty owed to the patient, a breach of such duty, an injury caused by the breach, and resulting damage. As for intimate facts, that has to do with HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Probability and Accountability Act, and that involves the impermissible disclosure of protected health information. So as far as the chapter terms in relation to the case, we included constitutional law because the GDC, well, Diamond is claiming that the GDC violated the 8th Amendment, and the United States Department of Justice also is claiming that the GDC violated that amendment. Just because she was placed in a men's facility where she was not protected and she was put in harm's way. For proximate cause, Diamond is also claiming that the GDC was the proximate cause of her physical and emotional harm, just because of their negligence. She said that there's direct correlation to her injuries. As for civil suit, we put that because Diamond is filing a civil suit through the Center for Constitutional Rights and the Southern Poverty Law Center, and that's going against the GDC. And the tort in this case is the GDC's failure to protect her and other transgender individuals from sexual assault, and the GDC's denial to provide medical attention. As for intentional infliction of emotional distress, the GDC's actions caused, or actually, the GDC disclosed Diamond's sexual orientation. They denied her medical treatment and they placed her in a men's facility. And because of that, she suffered 14 sexual assaults and has now like severe emotional distress from that. As for statutory construction, we put that because after Diamond filed a suit in 2015, the GDC updated their laws, which now allowed transgender individuals to receive hormone therapy while imprisoned, and it instituted a sexual assault prevention policy, which aligned closer to the federal standard. So for medical negligence, we put that obviously because they wouldn't give her the necessary treatment that she needed, which included hormone therapy, hair removal treatment, and gender dysmorphia treatment. And as for intimate facts, the GDC disclosed Diamond's sexual orientation to the inmates, which resulted in her getting sexually assaulted shortly after. And therefore, the GDC violated HIPAA laws by disclosing this private medical information.
So essentially our ruling is that given that in 2015, the court found the GDC to be in the wrong and guilty for everything that Tatiana just listed, it seems as though this is going to be the case again. We would ultimately side with Ashley Diamond. The Georgia Department of Corrections did say after the 2015 settlement that they would work to improve upon the things that Diamond was initially suing them for. And as we know, that does not seem to be the case. They did not actually follow through, and those things have not been improved upon. As a result, one could classify this as intentional infliction of emotional distress because of the disclosure of medical information and other personal information that ultimately led to her being sexually abused. She was again denied access to proper medical attention, prohibited from wearing female undergarments, and once again placed in a male prison facility on both occasions of her arrest. Being that the GDC has supposedly instilled new policies to improve healthcare to incarcerated individuals who happen to be transgender and adjusting old policies, for example, improving outdated sexual assault prevention policies, following the initial settlement, it seems as though the GDC is again in the wrong, especially since they failed to follow through on improvement they said to have made after the first time. So we would side with Ashley Diamond.
And here are a list of the sources that we used.